Okay, all right. Thanks again, you guys, for coming out. Here's the deal. I'm gonna go over some informational stuff today, obviously about programming, about nutrition. I'm gonna try not to zone in too much on the details of the nutrition thing, but it's hard not to talk about all of this without it I need to dive into detail on some things for you guys to see how it all fits into one cohesive, I'm gonna use the term matrix, right? I've talked about this before. There are things with fitness that people who just show up to a gym and want to get better don't necessarily understand, and I can't blame you guys because you're not as educated. Why would you be? This is not your job. So sometimes I see things and I go, fuck man, if he only knew, or if she only knew. But I haven't done a talk like this in 7 years, so how would you guys know? We stopped doing these around COVID because it was too big of a deal to get everyone in the same room, and then you guys know the rest. What did I start doing after that? I just started filming videos in my car that are 17 minutes long, and that's not necessarily the most palatable thing for everybody, besides the people who just really, really, really want to watch me talk, which is 3 to 5 people at this gym at any given time, okay? Including my mom. My mom loves my shit. She just commented on the video we made recently. She said it was Oscar worthy, so that was great. All right. So here we go. Let's get down to some information first. Along the way, I will sprinkle in the inspirational aspects of this, but I'm not going to launch off onto some big speech about how you guys can all be better athletes right now. All right? I think you guys are here for some nitty-gritty. Why do we do the things we do? What's the deal with the program? So what is the deal with the program, right? If we just simply look at how Nick and I structure a week, right? We go 7 days, right? So you got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So Sunday is just rest all the way through, right? That's typically how we do things. We've never done I shouldn't say ever. I've done routines where I do a Sunday or I have to do 7 days. You guys have never really done that, all right? So we're just gonna go Monday through Saturday, all right? I want to, as a group, come up with some movement planes. Movement plane meaning bench press is a horizontal push, right? So that would be, we'll just call that hor push. All right, great. So someone else has a better acronym for that, let me know. So what would be another plane, right? If this is horizontal push, this would be vertical push, right? Okay. So we got vertical push. Throw stuff out. Throw movements out. If you guys don't understand the plane that the movement is on, just what do we do during the week? Tell me. Pull? Okay, wait, who said pull? Everybody said pull. What kind of pull? Yeah, horizontal pull, right? That's easy, right? We got horizontal push, we need horizontal pull. So just to be clear, what would horizontal pull be? Yeah, ring row, bent row, croc row, opposite of that, or its counterpart would be vertical pull, right? Which would be your pull-ups. That's the thing that's hard for you guys to mimic if you don't have pull-ups. How do you increase your vertical pulling strength? Typically, that machine in there that I really like, but we only have one of, and I'm not saying that hey, can we get more? I'm saying it's just too bad because in Globo gyms, whatever, lat pull-downs are a huge thing, right? That's how I developed my lats, was not by doing strict pull-ups. It was by doing lat pull-downs obsessively, along with a bunch of other back things, okay? And not to dive off on some little tangent, but when I see people trying to get better at hanging movements, right? And I see people doing things that I didn't do, it's not because I have an ownership or I get paid commission if you guys use the lat pull-down machine. I don't care. What I care is that you're doing things the efficient way. So building up a back, you need both of these, but I would say, I just drew on the wall a little bit. You need more of that, all right? So when we substitute ring rows or bent rows or whatever, don't get hung up on, man, I'm never gonna get my pull-ups. You will, I promise you, okay? What else we got? Let's think lower body. Yeah, hinge, thank you, hinge. So hinge, you guys, anything like that, right? Squat, we squat. What are some other things we do on leg day? You can just think of the movement, right? Lunges, yeah, lunge. Who said what? Someone said deadlift? What? Swings would be a hinge? Jumps. Sick. Yeah. No, I'm serious. That's a great answer, right? Okay. What else? What are some other things? What do you guys care about aesthetically? What's that? Lateral movements. So side to side? Or, okay, so anti-rotation, trunk strength, right? So like, here, we're gonna go core, all right? Can you guys see? I'm sorry. Okay, so core, and then if we wanna get into specific, like, let's do 2 different things for core. Let's do like butterfly sit-ups and plank, stuff like that, things where you're not necessarily moving side to side, and then we have side to side movements. So that's rotational, anti-rotational. All right. Okay, now let's start thinking about the conditioning stuff that we do. Just throw out names of machines, right? We bike, we row, we ski. What else? Burpee, yep. Run, okay. I'm gonna run out of space here, but you get the gist. Okay, what was you say? Jump roping will be jump. Is that what you? Yeah, you're leaving the floor. Okay, so now what we're gonna do, Mick's gonna go through this week. Okay, she's just gonna name off the movements that we've done, and you guys are gonna see how this all fits together on a chart like this. So she's just gonna start at Monday, right? Okay.
We did snatch grip block pulls,
Okay.
and we did wide grip across the bench.
Okay.
Our conditioning was rowing.
And let's go accessory too.
Okay. Our conditioning was row intervals,
Okay.
and we had renegade rows and dumbbell tricep extensions for accessory.
Okay. And you guys stop me if I'm wrong, if I'm filling out the wrong thing. Yeah, just because I'm an idiot, I was gonna try to think of some scientific reason why I'd be too close to the board to see. It's really because I'm stupid. Okay. What's that? Yeah, thank you. Yes. See? Fuck yeah. Glad you guys are here. All right.
We also had a hanging scat retraction.
Yes, nice. Hell yeah. Do you guys think of this as vertical pull? Oh, I'm sorry. Do you think of the hanging scap retraction as vertical pull? What's funny to me is that 80 to 90% of the people that come to me with their goals in the gym, I want to do this, I want to do that. It's usually some sort of hanging movement. But Thursday is the least attended day of the week, class-wise. Why is that? Because it's what? Yeah, it's hard, right? But here's the thing. I bet if I programmed a bunch of kipping pull-up technique, toe-to-bar technique, there would be 30 to 40 people here per day. And if you're like, well, that's your fault as a business owner for not doing that. I'm not doing that. Do you know why? Because I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I'm not gonna sell you some dream and tell you that technique is ultimately what you need to improve your technique. 2 things can be true, right? If you guys watch someone do the open, I'm gonna use myself as an example. Do I have an advantage over you guys on 26.2 because I know how to do ring muscle ups? Yes, absolutely. I learned that skill and that technique. That immediately gives me a huge boost over you guys. That's not fair. I can't say I'm fitter than Stacy or Stacia or Levi because I do those more. I did them more when I was younger. But at the same time, the skill itself was not my advantage in learning the skill. When I came into CrossFit, I already have what I would call an above average strength to body weight ratio. I did because I lost a lot of weight and I was already lifting before that. So I had muscle that I was like, oh wow, I can finally move my body. This feels great. So when I try to get you guys to understand this concept of like vertical pulling progression, right? It's because I'm trying to get it to go the right way. If you just do technique stuff, ultimately, yes, here's my other point with this. We could have 30 to 40 people in every class on Thursday, but eventually they're gonna be like, I'm not getting any fucking better at this. What's happening? Okay? And that's the people that we get from other gyms. Hey, what happened? Why'd you come here? Oh, I don't know. I just kind of, plateaued. I stopped progressing. Okay, what do you guys do? Then I look at their program. I already know. They're dangling this carrot in front of people. You want to do 20 butterfly pull-ups in a row? I bet you do. Here you go. Here's your key to doing that. Just keep practicing the technique. No education on how do you guys improve your body composition to do that. How do you improve your strength to body weight ratio, et cetera, et cetera. You get it. So when we do the vertical pulling stuff, and there's just a simple like hang progression being asked of you guys, it's so that you can get better at all the other sexy stuff, all right? Now, sometimes the progressions are really long. We started out on Wednesdays by just doing what? Bar hangs in general, right? And then they were weighted. And then it was, okay, well now you gotta do more weight. You gotta hang for only 30 seconds. Okay, well now we go back to doing a minute with the weight you did for 30 seconds. Now we cut it back to 30. And you're like, oh my God, how long are we gonna do this vertical pulling progression? Or this, we're not even pulling, we're just hanging, right? But I don't know about you guys, when I get done with that, I do feel like I have some sort of pump or hypertrophy happening in this area here, okay? I don't feel like I go home and I need to like bust out 8 more reps of like, you know what I mean? Or like 3 sets of 8 on a lat pull down after class. I don't need to do that. I'm already getting the direct stimulus to those pulling muscles just by hanging. So then after we do months and months of weighted hanging, what's the only way that we can really progress that or make you guys get better at the hanging aspect? Take away an arm, okay? And if you're like, well, there's gotta be a middle ground between the weighted hang and then this, because I really suck at this, there is a middle ground. We've told you guys, right? You just have to hang on with one hand, you get it. Anyways, okay, cool. So that was a little vertical pulling tangent.
Tuesday.
Yep. Is Monday done? Okay, moving on. Okay, cool.
Okay, so Tuesday we have barbell surgery squats.
Mm-hmm.
And then deficit, Russian, and kettlebell high pulse.
Sweet.
We had cocaine planks and clamshells.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then we had our conditioning as 3 rounds of assault bike and dumbbell thrusters.
Okay. I'm gonna throw thruster in here as its own little thing. Technically, you guys, like when we do volume, we don't include, or Nick and I don't include thrusters as a part of like squat volume, okay? So if you're ever like, well, I should really go heavier on this so that my legs get more of a pump or I get stronger, that should be taken care of in the other strength stuff that we do. So it's gonna kind of get its own little thing here, all right? Yeah, thanks. So anytime that you're, like, let me put it this way. If it was just the standard vertical pull like that, like an upright row, I would label it as different. But since it's starting with a hinge and you're relying on the power from the hinge to help that bell float up, we're just gonna call it hinge today. Just because this is kind of nuanced and weird anyways, it would be more of a shoulder movement, but not necessarily something I would consider a vertical pull or a horizontal pull. Yeah.
Wednesday,
That was it for Tuesday?
yes.
Okay.
Check for thruster.
Oh, hey, also, but hey, we are going to consider, yeah, thank you, check for thruster, and we are going to consider thruster vertical push. That does matter. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Wednesday, we have manual pull grips.
Okay. Yep. So you guys, here's the deal. With ligament and tendon stuff with the bands where the reps are meant to be done fast, right? Here I am trying to justify why I didn't put something up here like this for this specific thing. Tendon work is just different. Like, let me put it this way. I could never just give you guys a program where all you do for your hinge is banded good mornings and that's it. So we're not gonna throw the banded work into this thing for right now. Okay? Okay. The rest of the first part would be good. So after the banded stuff?
Okay, the Brambot side laterals.
Yeah, okay. So, all right, we're gonna start considering these vertical push and vertical pull, right? If we go, but let's go, I'm gonna put an A, because these are gonna be accessories for those movements, all right?
Okay, heavy goblet squat hold stretch.
Yeah, cool.
And then we have heavy goblet squat holds and tiny squats also.
And what squats?
The pulse is the bottom.
Oh, yeah, sure. Okay.
And then conditioning was row ski and rolls.
Okay, so row or ski, that's it?
And then dragon flags, flutters, and
Okay. Great. Thursday?
All right, we had single arm hang
Mm-hmm.
and kettlebell pull through,
Mm-hmm. Where we at? Thursday?
and then supine single arm barbell hold.
Mm-hmm.
We had single arm bench
Mm-hmm.
and contralateral dumbbell pickups,
Mm-hmm.
and then butterfly sit-ups,
Mm-hmm.
athletic burpee,
Okay.
plate rotations,
Plate rotations? Yeah. Cool.
and beam power snatch high rolls.
Mm-hmm. So we're gonna go hinge and jump for that. Okay. Cool. Almost done, guys. Good job paying attention. This will all come together. Makes sense if it's not already.
Friday we had 5, 10, 5.
Oh yeah. All right. We're gonna put that under run, but this is even. Oops. Sorry. This is getting a little weird. What? There we go. Perfect.
And then single leg box jump,
Yep. Great.
wall sit to half raise, alternating jump range, broad jump, and then the Turkish get up.
Bingo. Hey, one thing we didn't do step up. So a step up is technically different, you guys, than a lunge. I'm not making that up. Like that is the thing. So, yeah, anyways. So wait, Turkish get up. We did vertical push. That's a step up. That's also going to be core, rotational. And lunge, okay? Okay,
Had assault bike and power swings. We finished Friday.
great. Salt bike, swing. Okay, cool.
All right, and then today we had the grandpa and side laterals
Okay,
and hanging L-sit.
uh-huh.
And then machine of choice and kettlebell pause. Cross
Okay, so squatting in, yep. All right. Machine of choice, okay. Someone raising their hand? Oh, no. Cool. So, you guys, when we go through a whole week, like once you look at all of this, a box should be checked off at some point, all right? Now, when I started doing CrossFit, it was every day was everything. Okay, now I'm not saying that every gym is doing that, but I am saying they're not sitting down and doing this. Okay, and this is essentially what every program, every cycle that we've ever done has to check these boxes. And it has to check them in a way so that there's space between the days sometimes. For example, if we get rid of these little X's that I just wrote as a joke to describe what other gyms are possibly or maybe doing, it's pretty evenly dispersed, right, when you go through this whole deal, okay? What happens is if you guys start doing the same thing or too much of the same thing over and over, you disrupt the equation or the chemistry of all of it. I only want you guys to, oops. Now I don't exactly remember what I wrote, but it was not vertical pull every day. But I don't want you guys doing vertical pull every day. Why is that? Can someone think of a reason, like a downside to hanging on the bar every day? What's that requiring you to do? What's that? Recovery is a big aspect of it, but something more that you guys notice, because people don't go home and go, oh my God, I'm not really recovered today. Some people do if they're very in tune, but typically you get some sort of like tendonitis flare up if the equation of this all gets messed up. And I've seen it too many times to ignore it and just to think like, I'm being anal about this. No, if I'm supposed to do 3 days of vertical pulling and I end up dicking around after class one day and doing 4 or 5, I typically get something on my body that starts going, oh, are you sure you should have done that? Now, I'm 15, 16 years into this now, so maybe I notice it more than you guys do. You guys won't notice it, especially if you're in this new phase, like what we call a novice phase. A novice window, right? I need to erase this, but a novice window, 7 to 18 months, your first 7 to 18 months of doing CrossFit, you guys can pretty much experience gains doing no matter, like anything, right? No matter what you do, you're gonna get some sort of benefit. You're gonna get stronger, you're gonna develop more lean muscle, you're gonna lose body fat, but then that reaches a point where you have to figure out, okay, what do I have to do now to keep my progress going, all right? Where's my eraser? Oh, thank you. Does this all make sense? Does anyone have questions on this? No dumb questions. Okay. You sure? I'm erasing it. Oh my God, what? All right. No, it's all good. We're gonna make it work. So, here's the deal. You guys now see what goes into planning out a week of programming, right? So now you're like, well, how do you figure out what movements, right? What rep schemes, all of it, right? Like, how do you actually plan out, okay, so we're gonna vertically pull, like, what do you do? How do you choose between strict pull-ups, or how do you choose between a lat pull down, like I said? How do you choose between the ring row, the bent row, whatever? The answer is you guys need to do everything. Every movement is beneficial, okay? Barring these like crazy skill movements that take a ton of technique, all right? But if we just dial this all back, okay, let's dial it back to why you guys are here. Why did you come to the gym in the first place? Okay, I'm not talking about like why you showed up to this gym if you're coming from another gym. I really love the community and the environment, and we had clinics on rope climbs on Saturday. No, that's probably not why you walked into that gym, right? I didn't see some ad on TV of Rich Froning snatching and go, do you guys know who Rich Froning is? Okay, I didn't see Rich Froning snatch and go, oh, what is that movement? I want to do that. How can I do a 300-pound snatch, right? You guys get where I'm going with this, right? You come to the gym for a certain reason, you stay for others maybe, but ultimately it all goes back to these 3 things: performance, health, and this is the one that people don't really want to talk about, but they give a huge shit about, is their aesthetics. Okay, so like, I said COVID was the reason like I stopped doing these talks, but one of the other reasons was I kind of started to feel like a huge narcissist and a psycho, because I would stand up here and I would go, do you guys want to lose body fat? Do you want to gain muscle? And then every talk someone would be like, I'm just here to blah, 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 blah. And now that person might be doing things to speed up the process of looking better or losing body fat. And I'm like, what the hell? All right, so maybe I'm not psycho. Maybe we do need to talk about this, okay? And look, if you guys are just here, you're like, I just want to work out, man. I just want some information, I want to work out. That's awesome. Like, seriously, great. Hopefully you soak something up from this. I think there are simple people, not in a bad way. I'm a little bit neurotic and binary and rigid with this stuff, but I have to be. Okay, I have to be so that I can give a shit when I go over this stuff and like talk to you guys about it. If someone's not super that way about it, I don't know if people buy into it the same, or if people can kind of see through that, right? You can always tell when a coach is standing up there and they're just coaching for a membership, or they're just coaching because they want to bring their dog somewhere and have it chill out, right? No offense to anyone who brings their dog here. I don't care. You get what I mean, right? So my point with that was, while I am binary and rigid and neurotic, I'm also very caring and empathetic, okay? I think that everybody in here has a special, unique story. I think that everybody in here deserves focus and care, and one-on-one with people, I'm very, I would say, compassionate, okay? I'm not a dickhead, but when I talk about it in a group setting, I can be kind of a dickhead. Because at the end of the day, a lot of these things are very black and white and very simple, but that's because that's the science of it. This is not an emotional thing, as I fucking yell about it. But like, I'm emotional about it because it is not super complicated. Why do we come here? These things. So what Nick and I try to do is we try to write a program that directly targets these things, and anything else that's kind of like, let's use the term extended skill work, meaning, hey, do you guys ever do a day where you just kind of like snatch for 30 minutes and like, you know, yada, yada, yada? Nope. Because like I showed you with the first chart, if I add in a day where all we're doing is snatching, you could say, well, you're jumping and you're hinging, so doesn't that qualify? But what are we doing here? Like, we're trying to get better at technique. We're not necessarily developing a ton of strength doing that. We are not necessarily developing a ton of hypertrophy. We're also not necessarily developing a ton of conditioning. So that goes back to, did I just spell that right? Okay. Oopsies. Yay. Okay. This is why we're here. These three things is how we improve why you guys showed up. All right, this is what the whole program is based around. Remember these three things. Now, you could say, I just want a better quality of life, man. Like, I was sick of not being able to play with my grandkids, or I was sick of this or that, or whatever. Like, I don't, like, it usually points back to, it's a flow chart. Well, I didn't want to come here. My wife made me feel like I needed to lose 20 pounds, so that's why I came here. Okay, so there you go. Whether it was you internally motivated to fix your aesthetics or your wife bitching at you, you're here because of an aesthetic reason. Does that make sense? Well, I didn't want to, my doctor told me like my A1C, and all right, cool, great. Now, performance is a tricky one because I really don't think anyone comes here with like, I do not get a lot of inquiries about, I want to go to the CrossFit Games, what do you guys do here, right? Like, I've maybe seen one person walk into our gym with that type of mindset, but boy, do people want to perform now, because there's a broader range of competitions for you to do that don't require, what was that going to be? That was an arrow. That don't require a ton of extended skill work. Now, I'm not saying that High Rocks is a dumbed down competition or that it's stupid. I think High Rocks is cool. But High Rocks itself is not a training methodology. High Rocks is a fad. And I don't mean that in like a negative way. CrossFit is a fad also. Any type of fitness trend that catches on and has a movement is a fad. Okay? Now, if there's a methodology behind the fad, then that's one thing. But High Rocks is, you know, that's just a longer CrossFit workout with no skill. Hold on, I'm not dissing it. I'm not dissing it. You guys, I'm really not. Remember what I said about the 26.2 open workout example. Me, ring muscle ups, I learned that skill. I can be a whatever percentile athlete in CrossFit because I know how to do ring muscle ups. Can I go do a High Rocks race and be top 10%? Maybe not. Probably not right now. I don't run a lot. That's a hole in my game, okay? So I can never hate on Mick for doing something that I'm not even gonna do. I admire Mick for the training that she does to do that. Now, here's the kicker. I used to think if someone wanted to be good at High Rocks, they would have to do exactly what Mick is doing, which Mick gets a program written specifically by my business partner, Nick. He has her doing everything under the sun, from dragging the sled in the winter at 6 p.m. when it's dark as shit. She's on her phone. It's terrible, okay? And when other people in this gym were thinking like, hey, I kind of want to do a High Rocks race, like, what do you think? I'm like, do you know what it takes to be good at an endurance sport like that? Because that's your example. She is wired like I am. Okay? And if you're like, you guys are both traumatized children, I'm like, probably, right? But hey, not everything that makes me good at this is a good thing. And I've learned that over the years. A talk I gave 8 years ago saying, why don't you guys just be more, It's very simple, It's very simple to me because it's soothing to me in some way. I don't know what happened when I was a kid. I have ideas. We're not here to unpack all my shit. So, if you're a calm person, you just like working out, right? Coming in, getting a sweat and whatever, yada, 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 that's fine. All I'm saying is once it comes time to dial something in for performance, there might be an extra gear or an extra aspect that you need to access to do that thing, all right? But something I did not expect was people doing our program that's just based around these 3 things, not doing a specific thing like Mick, and then still getting up on a podium at a Hyrox race. Congratulations to Amy and Nalima. But every time I think we need to do something more specific or venture into some specialty course or some sort of super dialed in cycle on X, Y, or Z, like a Hyrox cycle, like I bet that would just give some people, you know what I mean? Like, can't say the word I was thinking of, but you get my point. Every time I think we need to do something like that, I'm reminded of the fact that someone can just come into this gym and then excel at something like that, a Hyrox race. They don't need to do specific Hyrox training. Now, Nalima could say that, well, she ran extra amount each day to do that, but she knows deep down that's not why she was capable and good at the Hyrox race. Nalima is capable and good at the Hyrox race because she's come every day for 3 years. She's driven, she's determined, and she's also pragmatic, meaning if I tell her it's going to take her 2 years to do a strict pull-up, she understood that advice, and she still worked at it, but there was not a skip-stepping mentality in place. And she also came to me for advice on her nutrition. She truly, truly cared, okay? So now I watch her do strict pull-ups in class, I'm like, this just blows my mind. Like, if someone just shows up and they apply themselves to every single aspect of this, they don't even need to apply themselves like Mick and I do. Do you guys know what I mean by that? The neurotic, traumatic aspect is not something you guys need to necessarily aspect. And I'm sorry if I'm, Mick, if I'm labeling you in this category, but I will just say this, right? No, not yet. What I was saying with the example of Amy and Nalima is every time I think we need to go into something specific, I'm reminded that someone can come in and immediately excel past me, right? And what do I mean by past me, right? I've been accused at times of being like, well, you just like being big fish, small pond, right? Open workout, 26.2. No. When I gave a talk like this in 2018, I said, if you guys just follow, I talked to a group. Maybe Stacy was here, Stacia, a lot of you weren't, but I said, hey, just follow what I'm telling you. You guys will beat me at this stuff. Guarantee it. Now, I thought I was referring to the guys. It was the gals that ended up just beating me at everything. And that was the case for 5-6 years. They were the ones who came every day. They were the ones who did everything. They were the ones who put everything into every single aspect of this. Now, again, it wasn't as neurotic as I would have done it, but that's fine. But my point was that the water rose to, let's just use me as the standard here, my level, and then it surpassed that. Why? Why do I think that you guys can surpass me at something? Because I'm pragmatic about my own genetics. I'm not gifted. I just give way more of a shit than you guys do. Now, if we did a competition in terms of who could track their macros every day and be the best at that, I would beat all of you. I would. I'm sorry, I would. But I have to do that because genetically, I'm like a salmon swimming upstream. Is that the term? I think I have some okay qualities and aspects of myself physically, but I've had to work really, really hard to get those. And if I take time off from doing that, I will look like someone that you guys won't respect. And you would not take my advice. I've seen gyms like this before, where the owner gets super burnt out, he stops working out, he starts catering the program around what he wants to do, Fuck, what are we gonna do today? 7-minute AMRAP. Shut up. He's yelling at his kid while he's programming at night, and he's like, 5 ball slams. 200-meter ski. Great. That's it. And then that's what the class does. Okay? And then what happens to everyone at that gym? They get chubby, right? I've seen this. So I have to do this stuff to just be a person that you guys will look up to and be like, yeah, all right, we're following the leader here. You guys, if you did what I did, I really actually think that all of you, genetically, I don't typically like have this poor view of myself. I'm just exaggerating to prove a point. You guys can do whatever you wanted to do. But the reality is, maybe 3% of you are going to leave here and go do that. And that's fine. Hopefully you still get some information out of this. Now, do you guys have questions? So again, these are the 3 components. Let's focus more on these 3 things now. I'll circle back to this in a second, but we have to remember these. These are why you're here, unless someone else has a weird circumstance that brought them here that was outside of that realm. I want to look better naked. I want to improve my quality of life. I want to be better. All right? The whole reason I went off on that Hyrox tangent is because I think people want to be better. I think people want competition so that they can, it feels inclusive, right? Hyrox is very inclusive. Where CrossFit has ventured towards is exclusive, okay? I'm not the only person who thinks this or says this. Over the years, I've seen CrossFit get more and more, I'm gonna say, skill-based and advanced or technical. I think the year that they did the upside down ring handstand push-ups was when they kind of lost me. And I was like, this is a little different than what I initially signed up for, all right? Now, am I hating on that movement because I can't do it? Maybe. There's like a little bit of like, that's 5% of it though, but you guys get my point. What is that? When did it, okay, so like, I'm gonna erase this real quick. If we're just hanging on that example, let's talk about why CrossFit was originally created. CrossFit was originally created with this in mind, GPP. Does anybody know what GPP stands for besides the coaches that have done? General physical preparedness, right? Now, Greg Glassman, who is the CEO of CrossFit, he wanted to create a program that first responders, people in the military, active duty people could do, a program that they could do that would improve their daily, what would you call it? What's a list of? Yeah, their daily, let's say, to do. Okay. Fire, police. So, again, we go back to this. If you create a program like the original chart I showed you guys, and these 3 things are typically covered, you will improve general physical preparedness. Now, the CrossFit Games was a test of who was the most generally physically prepared, okay? And those workouts originally tested the following things, right? You tested strength in terms of, what is with me in that word? Absolute strength. So absolute strength is the weight you guys can move. Relative strength, that would be how well can you move your own body? Now we get into these other aspects of muscular endurance. Muscular endurance, you guys, would be, let's say, anything where you're lifting your body or weight and a cardiovascular element is coming into that. Okay, so think anything that's above 15 reps, right? Your heart rate skyrockets. When your heart rate is up, it's harder for your muscles to get oxygen, okay? So someone with better muscular endurance can do sets of 20 to 50. We've seen this before. Someone asked me in class a couple weeks ago, hey, how come I can bench 250 pounds, but I can only do 25 push-ups in a row? So-and-so benches 175, and they can do 150 push-ups in a row. Well, that person who's doing the push-ups, did I say that right? They can do 50 push-ups in a row. They have better relative strength, and they have better muscular endurance than that person who benches 250. But the person who benches 250 has better absolute strength. These are different mechanisms. These are different energy systems. Just like in conditioning workouts, you guys can have what we're going to refer to as your anaerobic threshold, which we're going to think about as a 1 minute max bike, okay? Or think about the 1 minute max ski that we do. So 1 minute test. Someone could argue there's power that goes into this too. That's fine, right? Bigger guys have an advantage. Bigger gals have an advantage. It's true. Mass produces force. Mass matters. But ultimately, you do need a certain threshold to be able to do that. Threshold training. Okay, that's working on my threshold. Once my legs get to a point where they're starting to shake, that is building up my threshold. Hopefully, if I'm good enough or I do enough of these, good enough, who's good at a wall sit? If I do enough of these, then I can be good enough at that 1 minute max bike test, because around 30 seconds, when my legs start feeling like they're made of cement, I can keep pushing through that because I worked on my threshold, okay? What do we have after that? We have another anaerobic zone or another anaerobic category called anaerobic capacity. Now, this is gonna be more of your 4 minute, right? 4 minute test. And I'm just using the machine tests, you guys, as examples. Because there's no skill barrier there. I don't have anything against skill. If you think I'm anti-gymnastics or anti-Olympic lifting, I totally get it. I'm a little more anti-Olympic lifting in this setting, but I'm not gonna go off on a tangent on that right now. I just need you guys to understand, when we do these, they are true representations of where someone's threshold and where their capacity is at. There are no, well, yeah, he can do kipping pull-ups. Because what is CrossFit's true test of anaerobic capacity? It would be like a Fran, okay? Now a Fran, 21-15-9, thrusters, pull-ups. And if you're looking at this and you're going, wait a second, that's supposed to be a 4 minute workout? Yes. All right? So you could do that? Sure. Let's say Stacy and I compete in Fran against each other. Stacy's a better squatter than I am, okay? She is anatomically a better squatter than I am. She has a longer torso and she has shorter legs for her height. So that means that her femur, from her knee to her hip, she doesn't have to create as much leverage. She can kind of just squat right down. It's a nice position for her. This is not a nice position for me. Stacia is the same way. Stacia and I have higher hips for our height. We're better deadlifters than we are squatters. When someone walks into the gym, I can kind of see how they're built. We're going to leave that at that. I was going to say see what they're working with in terms of a performance, potential, okay? And if someone walks in and their gait is fucked up, hey, I'm wondering if I could do some training for the CrossFit Games. I'm going to be like, nice. Remember, again, compassionate in person, behind closed doors or to a group, very pragmatic and realistic. You guys don't know this example of a person I just made up, but my point is, some people are just not meant to do certain things, okay? Now, that person, I can make that person as fit as possible, but are they going to go to the CrossFit Games? No. Some of you have builds where you could actually go do things, right? Like you're very, like, yeah, you get my point. Everyone has a different athletic potential. Why is Angela better at the snatch high pull than I am? Angela's a very naturally athletic person. I did not teach her how to do that. Maybe she learned how to do that at Sasquatch, which props to them if they showed her how to do that. But there is a way people naturally jump. People naturally jump with weight. People can visually watch me do a movement and then they can mimic that, right? I have personal clients, you guys, where I need to literally move their, elbows up on the front squat. Okay, so yeah, like I have to move them into position. Okay, so that's a kinesthetic learner. They have and does that relate to athleticism and potential? Not necessarily, but you get my point. Like you see all types of shit as a coach, to where my point, going back to the Stacy and me competition thing, I can do pull-ups faster than Stacy. Stacy can do thrusters faster than me. Is this a true representation of our capacity? No. The true representation would be the machine. If we just got on a rower, we did 4-minute max row, 4-minute max bike, whatever. Bike would probably be better. Rower, still technique involved, right? I'm positive there's some more powerful or stronger people in here than me. I just think that maybe I know how to cheat the rower better in some cases, like a 1,000-meter row, right? Or I've done it too many times. I just know what to do on that. Mick is rolling over in her potential grave right now. She hates how I row. Anyways, besides the point. That's CrossFit's test of this. That requires some skill. This was enough skill before. Now what they've done, thruster 135, 95, do a pull-up, then you gotta do a twirl over. And you guys know what I'm saying? Like, these workouts have just gotten more advanced in terms of the skill required to do them, not necessarily the capacity required, okay? So what are the CrossFit Games testing now? They're testing, I'm not saying that these aren't the most fit people in the world, but when you really look at the movements, there are a lot of skill barriers there, right? And my point with High Rocks was there's no skill barriers, so it's very inviting, okay? Which is good. After anaerobic capacity, we have our aerobic workouts, right? So we have aerobic threshold. Here's an example of aerobic threshold. We did a workout a long time ago. This is probably before some of you guys were here. There was a 3-mile bike, 1,000-meter ski, and then a 1,000-meter row. And then with the time remaining in 20 minutes, you had to do 21, 15, 9. There was a burpee, thruster with dumbbells, and then pillars, right? Okay, so the people that make it through the 3-mile bike, the 1,000-meter ski, the 1,000-meter row, and get to the 21, 15, 9 with the time remaining in the 20 minutes, that is them testing their aerobic threshold. Aerobic means with air. So you guys have to breathe on this part, right? You have to. Now, if you're looking at this and you're like, that kind of sounds like how some open workouts feel, right? Where you're moving and you're like, you can't totally redline in the beginning, but you get to the end and you're like, I am literally giving all I have left. But you're not giving all that you had right at the beginning, like this, right? That's why this is aerobic threshold, okay? This is typically like, let's say 12 to 20 minutes, all right? So that's a good example of a workout like that, where you need to save enough energy so where you can move through this with some sort of like precision and efficiency, okay? Aerobic capacity would be like your 5K run, okay? Now, let's say that you're not doing a 5K run time trial. You're just gonna go on a 5K as a jog. You guys know what they refer to as a runner's high, right? So runner's high is when your body enters, you've got, so these 4-minute workouts, right? This would be what CrossFit refers to as your phosphogenic phase. That's, let's say, 0 to 4 minutes. That's like your Fran. Okay, now if you've taken a level 1, they go over this, but they're not going over all these different aspects of this. They're just gonna go over 3 things. Phosphogenic, so 0 minutes, let's say 7, and let's say 14, all right? So what they say is like 0 to 4, you're in this phosphogenic zone here, all right? 4 to, let's say, like 11. Now you're in your glycolytic. I'm butchering that. Your glycolytic phase, where you guys are using essentially carbs for energy, okay? You're out of this zone now where you can rely on power. You need to actually start taking something from your muscle to do well at the workout. After that, you're in what's called your oxidative phase. Now, oxidative phase is where your body actually runs more efficiently on fat than it does carbohydrate. That is the phase you guys are in when you feel runner's high. When you're trudging through your first 2 miles and you finally get to the 2.5 mile mark, you're like, oh, okay, that's your body running off fat. Now, does this mean you guys should go eat a ton of fat and totally ditch carbohydrate? No, because how many workouts do we do that actually venture up into this zone where you're not required to do this? Rare, very rare, right? They don't test aerobic capacity in an open workout. Usually anything where the clock is going is gonna venture into threshold at some point. But 5K is the closest example I can get, or an Ironman, if you guys wanna get really crazy with it, or an ultra. That's aerobic capacity. Once you get going, you need to get into this oxidative zone to do well. You really do, right? I've never done a half marathon or an ultra or anything like that, but I would imagine if I'm not at that runner's high point at some point, I've really kind of bonked and screwed something up with my training, okay? So, again, not something we do a lot of, but what's weird, you guys, is that this zone and this, right? This is the most important part of your conditioning training. And that's why we vary the heart rates, okay? The better you guys can get and the more you can build up your capacity, the more work it takes for you to elevate your heart rate. My dad's heart rate is at 180 beats a minute walking up the stairs at a Mariners game. My dad has no capacity for work. He cannot handle anything. He also smokes, but he's lazy. And my point is, getting up to a high heart rate right away and just doing this stuff over and over, or just trying to be good at Fran, you don't actually display that you have any capacity, okay? What you want is you eventually want, like, when Mick started working with Nick, do you know what Nick had Mick do? He had her sit on a bike and pedal for 25 minutes, and she had to keep her heart rate below X amount, all right? And it seemed probably pointless and stupid to her in the moment, but what he was doing, and Mick was a good CrossFit athlete. Mick was a 96 percentile CrossFit athlete. So why did Mick have to do that? Why did Nick start working with Mick and go, you need to work on this zone here. You need to improve your base. Because Nick knew all CrossFit does from a testing standpoint is test this area. We don't do the 0 to 4 minute open workouts. There's nothing like that. Think of all the open workouts we did this year. 12-minute cap, 15-minute cap, 12-minute cap. Is that right? Or 15, 12, 15? It's the same zone. It's the same feeling every workout. I want to die hits at like 7.5, 8 minutes. Or you look up at the clock, you're like, oh my God, it's only 4.5 minutes. That happens to everybody on every single workout. There's no gas and go, you're done at 2 minutes. There's no save yourself for 25 minutes. The more thoughtful paced person is gonna win. Like there's none of that, okay? You got your skill workouts that benefit someone like me, and you have the workouts that reward the person who is most efficient in a glycolytic state. So that's from, again, this example I gave up here, let's say 4 to 16 minutes, all right? So if we all need to improve our aerobic base, that's what we need to put the time and energy into doing, is making sure we're at zone 2 or 60 to 70% heart rate when it says that, making sure we're at 70, 80% heart rate when it says that. And then on the days where it says go 85, 90, those are like your little bits of, hey, we can have fun, we can do something similar to this. Here's a 20-minute workout where you guys are 85, 90%. Like those are sprinkled in here and there, all right? But ultimately, what matters the most is this zone. And this is just evidence time and time again. Do you know how many High Rocks people, or how many guys I watched on their story, how many people I saw on their Instagram story get above 300 reps on that wall ball box jump workout? These are like trail runner guys. These aren't CrossFitters. These are guys who literally just go out all day. I'm not knocking trail running, it's not my deal, but it goes to show that if you just move enough and you do enough things at a moderate to low heart rate, then being asked to do a bunch of this and a bunch of that, it doesn't really require much skill, you're gonna be very good at those things. Now, all those High Rocks people or all the trail runner people did really well on that first week of the Open. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, why did I spend time even learning these skills? Like this is I no longer have a skill separator advantage here. Now, all those people that were very good at that got crushed once there was a muscle up and once there was a heavy thruster or a heavy clean. So again, what's the right zone to train in? All the zones. What's the zone that's most important for building a base? The aerobic, all right? Mick graduated from having to sit on a bike and pedal at 40 RPM every day to all of a sudden she could keep her heart rate where Nick wanted it, pedaling at 45 RPM. Then it took her 50 RPM. So now she's able to go harder. She has to go harder to get her heart rate up. That's a good thing, okay? So now when she hops into a class workout, I remember this. After months of her doing that, there was a workout that was a 15-to-1 bike toe to bar, but the toe to bar was 1-to-15. Classic turnaround. Do you remember this? This was at East. She hopped in, and it was like she was at the same RPM I was on the bike, which girl to guy doesn't make much sense. Like if we're just being real about it, guys should always like technically be producing more power on the bike. And she did everything unbroken on the toe to bar. And she got done and was like, so that's a true example of capacity improving. When Mick has to do this workout, my heart rate is at 90 to 95. She's probably doing it at 80. She's more efficient. If we go back to the Rich Fronings and the Matt Frasers, again, if you guys don't know CrossFit, the Spark Notes on this is they were the guys who won 4 or 5 CrossFit games in a row, right? Froning won 4, Fraser won 5. There was always this Sunday, right? If the events were Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, there was always this Sunday where they had to make up ground. And you would watch them and you'd be like, that guy looks the same on Sunday that he looked on Thursday. All these other guys look like shit now. They were great on Thursday, they suck now. Capacity. Froning and Fraser's aerobic capacity was just higher than everyone else's. The amount of work that they were able to handle was better. They weren't more skilled, they weren't stronger. You could say that they were strong and they were skilled, which they are, but ultimately it came down to the work that they were able to handle. Okay? I'm less fatigued by Friday, Saturday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday than you are. So watch me go out on Sunday and be better now. Now I need to use 90, 95% of my heart rate. I didn't have to in those other workouts. Now, did they win? No, this is a 10 event thing though. All they had to do was be good enough, and then in the last workout, boom. So that's pacing. And you could use that same example for something like this, okay? All I need to do is just be off the bike or off the rower 50 meters after Chad, or after Brian, or whatever. Because, now, I'm not saying I would be, but I'm just using this as an example, because I know I can push harder on this part. I've saved my energy, all right? Someone wheels through this stuff, you know, they get done. We've always seen this, right? Someone will get done with this. They go over before they do their first burpee. 17 seconds goes by before they do their burpee. Nope, burned something too much. You weren't in a capacity state here. So now you can't really use your threshold. You already used it on that, okay? What else do we have? So we have power and speed. Power, speed, we're gonna use this as one thing. Olympic lifting. Olympic lifting is a display of power and speed. It is not the most productive or the most efficient way of producing power and speed. Why is that? Technique. In order for you guys to maximize the power and speed aspect of Olympic lifting, your technique has to be, I'm gonna say, flawless, at least 90% dialed. Is my technique flawless? No, okay? I can jump like this. Can I jump like that with a bar? No. I've also cleaned weight where I was like, not thinking I could ever clean that. Did I get away with some aspect of my absolute strength to help me on my clean because my technique was lacking? Yes, you guys do that, right? But it is not a true representation of power and speed. How many people in here know who Usain Bolt is? Just a show of hands. How many people know who Liu Xiaojin is? You know who Liu Xiaojin is? You saw a thing. What was the thing? Who is he though? Oh, you don't remember who he is? Okay. Okay, so one person. Okay, you don't count. One person. You research this stuff like I do. The average person knows who Usain Bolt is because Usain Bolt competes in the true display of power and speed. That's what people actually care about when they tune into the Olympics. Lu Xiaojin is a Chinese weightlifter, right? I forget what kilo he is, but I'm going to say pounds-wise, he probably weighs 145, snatches 396. Something like that. Now, you could say that is a more impressive display of power and speed. I'm not going to argue, but there's also so much strength that goes into that. There is so much technique that goes into that. And in China and Russia, if you don't have your technique dialed in by age 12, you're out of the sport. They don't want you anymore. All you have to do after that, now they have a coach that comes around with a stick when they're in their 20s. Nah, nah. You know, I've seen it. I've been to one of the Chinese seminars. It's like that. But my point is, all they have to do after they get their technique dialed in is just get stronger and more explosive. And they take drugs. Okay? So they can snatch 396 pounds. I'm not saying Usain Bolt is drug-free, but he is. Yeah. Let's just all suspend disbelief and say that he is. For the sake of we like to watch the sprinters, no one in here is necessarily tuning into the Olympic lifting, right? If you're watching on YouTube, pulling it up, that's awesome. But the reality is, it's not even the power speed spectacle of the Olympics, of the fittest people on earth. So then why is it something that's necessarily, where am I pointing at here? Probably nothing. Why is it something that's seen as a spectacle of the CrossFit Games? Because it is funner than watching someone do 21:15:9. The max snatch, the max clean events, those are sick. They're awesome. They don't do max bench, max dead, max squat though, right? Those are the true displays of absolute strength, right? But what is seen as the true display of strength at the CrossFit Games? It's the Olympic lifting. So now we're not necessarily testing the true power and speed aspect. We're not necessarily testing the true absolute strength aspect. We're testing some combination of both that requires a ton of technique. And then why does this get romanticized in gyms? Why do people want to work on the snatch or the clean or whatever? It's because of that phenomenon of the CrossFit Games. Remember, you guys didn't come into the gym because you saw the snatch on TV. Right? You showed up for performance, health, aesthetics. But somewhere in people's journey, they were in a class and they snatched a certain amount of weight and they got maybe some euphoria from that. Or they cleaned a certain amount of weight. Right? It feels good to do something that you don't think you can do, right? So you get an emotional tie to that thing, or that thing, the clean or the snatch, is broadcasted to you as a thing you need to do to compete, okay? Now, I know a lot of people in here that have good enough technique, they would just get better at the clean or the snatch by simply getting stronger or improving their power and speed, okay? I'm gonna give you guys one last example on the power speed complex thing. If you're training Olympic lifting, you're using a lightweight, you can move it fast. Let's just think about those snatch high pulls the other day. This, I need to get my hips to move quickly. That's how I train power and speed. When weight gets heavier, and I have to use my shoulders and my traps and my biceps and my forearms to shrug that weight up, and I'm not getting the same pop with my hips, what's interesting here is that this is now going down. You could make an argument, though, that this is going up. I'm holding on to a really heavy weight. I'm shrugging it over and over. Fuck, I'm gonna get so good at Olympic lifting. What you're really doing is you're really developing your traps, your shoulders. I don't know if I'm selling this for some of you or discouraging you from doing this. But my point is, you're not training the hips to actually move with power and speed. Okay? What you're doing is you're just overdeveloping the same muscles, right, that you would use like in other upper body movements that we already do. Okay? And this goes back, like there's a lot of things like this in CrossFit, right? The person who fucks up the croc row. A lot of bicep and forearm. No back. Person who fucks up the bicep curl. A lot of back, not a lot of bicep and forearm. So somehow, everything gets worked, but it just gets worked in the wrong way, right? So if you're holding on to a super heavy weight, trying to snatch pull or clean pull, you better believe that these muscles are getting developed, but we're not actually getting better at the technique or developing the power and the speed, right, to do good at that movement. okay? So moving on from power and speed, we've got 2 strength components, muscular endurance, which is high rep, anaerobic components, right, which is without air. So your 1-minute test, your 4-minute test, your threshold, your aerobic threshold, think open workouts, glycolytic phase, 12 to 20 minutes. This is gonna suck. I know I have to pace myself, but I also know I feel like I'm gonna die. Oxidative, aerobic capacity, same thing, okay? Nalima and Amy doing a Hyrox race, Mick doing a Hyrox race. Most of it needs to be oxidative, right? Most of it needs to be with air, okay? Now at the end, do you feel like, oh yeah, great, let's do another? No. There's some aspect that turns into threshold at some point, right? There's elements of that. But if you do the whole thing as threshold, you're fucked. So you have to do the capacity piece, okay? Mick, am I missing anything from our... I think that's it. Okay. So, you guys still with me? All right. I want to explain real quick. Let's look at year to year, all right? I'm showing you guys a week. I'm showing you guys the kind of concepts that go into like all these different elements and things. What a great statement that was. So now let's go, let me bar graph this. Okay. So here's someone coming in starting, right? Day 1. We're gonna say this was 2024. 2025, 2026, and 2027. Oops. So typically, like when you write out a cycle, you write it out in an Olympic cycle, which is a 4-year training block, all right? Now, not everyone's gonna do this. Not every CrossFit coach, not every CrossFit gym owner is gonna do this, because why would they train you guys like they would train Olympic athletes, right? You're not trying to go to the Olympics. But the way that I look at it is, if the best athletes in the world get coached like this and train like this, then you guys should have access to that also, okay? Why not? This is true for football players, this is true for baseball players, any professional athlete or Olympic athlete. If you're like, well, dude, we're just here to work out, come on. This applies to everybody. I'm not saying that, like, you guys deserve this because, oh, it's top end. I'm saying you deserve it because it's science, okay? It's appropriately periodized like this. Now, we go like this. So the volume goes up, volume goes down. 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 That's the end of the year. So over the course of the year, volume went up. It did not go up like this, however, okay? That would be called a linear progression, where you never have any variance in the volume or intensity. Everything is just consistently increasing, all right? Now, this would be typical for like a 10-week strength cycle. Has anyone in here ever done a true strength cycle? Yeah. Not sustainable for a long time, okay? Why would we do this? Why would we not just do this? Because I don't think people truly understand that. When you don't give your body a break ever and you overload, let's call this linear overload, meaning there's no ebb and flow, it's a straight line. When you linear overload, you also overload your CNS, you overload the joints, ligaments, tendons, right? Joints, ligaments, and tendons don't grow as fast as your guys' muscle grows, okay? Now, you can help your joints, ligaments, and tendons by doing band work, right? Band of pull-aparts, band of good mornings, band of tricep pushdowns, whatever. But you need time for these things to heal. You need time for your CNS to heal. If you go 100% every day, right, you will experience some sort of fatigue in your CNS, whether that's you guys getting hurt, getting sick, whatever it is, okay? So this needs to vary like this to keep these things in check, to make sure that you guys recover and can get the most out of the program, all right? Now, what's interesting about the next year, though, is that it starts at a higher point than 2024 started, okay? So the overall volume you guys are doing has gone up now. It could be as simple as this year we started with a 3x10 on a back squat. That was the first day, that was January 1, 2024. This year, we start with a 3 by 15. Now, you could be like, it can't be that simple. It is that simple. Well, what if I drop the weight on the 3 by 15? You guys take out a calculator, not right now, but if you do 3 by 10 at 95 pounds and you do 3 by 15 at 75, you could drop the weight, it's still more volume. So that goes into Nick and my thinking here, is that this progresses in the same way. Now we get to 2026, and over the course of the 4 years, you guys have progressively overloaded. And that's all that this means, right? Progressive overload just means that over time, you're doing more volume this year than you did last year. Now, again, what happens at other gyms when you guys plateau? I'm not saying you guys, I just mean people in general. There's no thought of progressive overloading. It's just, let's do hard shit every day, or let's do a week where we deload because everyone seems to be complaining. But even if there's a scenario where you guys have understood everything I've said so far today and you think you can go program on your own, which is fine, I would challenge you to do that. How are you gonna make sure, what are you gonna do to make sure that this has all gone up over the course of the year versus last year? How are you gonna look like you need an Excel sheet, you need a calculator, you need something that shows you the volume. And that's what Nick built, right? That's what Nick built, and it's helped me, it's helped Mick. I mean, Stacy's been working with Nick for 6 weeks on her nutrition. She's already lost 10 pounds. But he also programs for her too. So this is not like, well, Nick and I are superior. I just think that he and I maybe care more, or we just have more experience in this realm than other people in the area. And I'm kind of like tired of walking it back and making it sound like I don't know that, okay? I do have enough experience with this. I do know what's best for you guys, all right? If you want to apply that, great. If not, that's fine too. If you want to still do butterfly sit-ups after class, even when we've already done, now that you know the chart, you know we've hit the core on the other days, I wouldn't add in another core day. You don't need to, okay? So hopefully, you guys can see all this and understand the year-to-year progression here. Do I need to draw out 26 and 27 too? You guys grasp that? Okay. So here's the diagram I'm going to draw. This is the difference between strength and hypertrophy. Some of you have seen this before. Who in here has seen the cookie example? Okay, 3 of you. Great. Here we go. This is a person, right? Let's say this is a person's bicep, okay? We're going to look at the bicep. That is the muscular cross-section of a bicep. Within this bicep, you have muscle fibers, right? Some of these are activated, meaning these are the fibers that are actually contributing towards your strength. When I do hypertrophy, what I'm doing is I'm increasing the cross-section of the muscle, and in turn, I'm adding in extra muscle fibers, but the same fibers as before are still activated. Do you guys see how this cross-section got bigger, but there's only 3 dots still filled in? Before I had 4 extra dots that had potential for strength or activation. Now I have 7. That's hypertrophy. When you do strength, the muscle, in theory, stays the same size, but now instead of 3 dots activated, I have activated 5 dots. Okay? Greater potential for strength, greater strength. Now, do you guys know what I'm talking about when I refer to hypertrophy? Hypertrophy is anytime the muscle is burning, it's releasing what's called ATP, adenosine triphosphate, whatever the fuck, right? So that's the chemical that's released where you're like, again, going back to the wall sit example. So that's why I tell you guys when you're doing a wall sit, you have to push yourself to that point if you actually want to get your quad muscle to develop and grow. If every time you're about to hit the point where ATP is released, you come up like this, you get what I'm saying, okay? So that's hypertrophy. Now, can hypertrophy and strength happen simultaneously? Yes. Why is 3x8 to 3x12 seen as like the bodybuilding temple or like the bodybuilding like cardinal sets and rep scheme? It's because you don't have to go super heavy to create the hypertrophy. I can get hypertrophy out of, let's say that strength, you guys, would be like 1 to 5 reps, and this would be like 8 plus. What do I have to do to get that burning sensation on 1 to 5 reps? I have to go really heavy, right? So now we're back to the whole CNS, joint, ligament, tendon, more stress on the body. For what? If I was in a strength cycle, I need that stress. I need to activate those fibers. This part, on a 2 rep max, that's doing both things. That part is also extremely taxing on my central nervous system. Now, if I just want to grow the muscle, I'm not necessarily worried about moving as much weight as possible, I want to stay in this zone here, okay? You sprinkle enough strength in, enough hypertrophy, enough conditioning, you get the best of all these worlds here, right? When you're in one specific cycle, which is what we used to do, you're typically only doing one thing, right? Now, strength, conditioning, hypertrophy, those have always been like fulcrums of the cycles that we do. One goes up, the others stay the same, right? You work on hypertrophy for 3 months, next 3 months you work on strength, you try to keep your hypertrophy where it was at, you try to activate more of these fibers. Great, we just did a hypertrophy cycle, my bicep's bigger, now I get to do whatever, let's just keep the example on the bicep. I get to do super heavy bicep curls, make sure I'm stronger there now, right? And then you do a conditioning cycle, and you focus on doing well at all those tests I laid out, the aerobic capacity, the anaerobic capacity, the threshold, the yada, yada, yada. And you try to make sure that you maintain the muscle that you built and you maintain the strength that you built. But now, with this hybrid thing that we're doing, it's all slowly increasing like that chart I drew for you guys. I wish I had a bigger board, sorry. It's all slowly going up like this, all the time. And so if someone goes, are we gonna change the cycle now? I'm like, we don't need to. Nick and I finally found a blend where we can rotate phases. We can add in these odd movements like the single arm hangs or the Zercher squat or the kettlebell pull through and challenge you guys in different ways. Because remember, you have to do all the movements, injury prevention, strength, all of it. You have to do all of the muscle energy systems, the hypertrophy, the strength, the conditioning, you have to do all that too. The aerobic, the anaerobic, etc. The power, speed, the change of direction, all of it is written in there. So we're not in a specific cycle right now where it's like, hey, we're just doing, strength training, or we're training for the open, or we're training for conditioning or hypertrophy. It's all together, all right? So, does anyone have questions on that, the cookie example? No? Okay, one more thing. Hypertrophy can also be achieved at super high rep, right? If I told you guys to do 100 reps, so that 100 reps dumbbell incline bench press, right? What's the issue with the 100 reps? Then you start, muscular endurance, right? This starts to turn into a conditioning workout where you're getting a burn in the muscle, but someone is more likely to stop because their heart rate is too high, okay? All right, I'm done at 35 reps, that was enough. Okay, well, it achieved hypertrophy, but you probably could have gotten more out of the hypertrophy if you would have had your heart rate lower. So that's why this is a sweet spot for that, but I just want you guys to understand it does not need to cap at 12 reps. It's just once you go above 12, you start going 15, 20, 25, you're demanding more cardiovascularly, all right? Good on that? Okay. Let's talk about this pyramid of importance. Bottom of the pyramid is going to be most important. Now, I'm going to say strength and conditioning is more important than your guys' nutrition, just for the sake of this example. All right, if someone wants to argue about that, I will take an argument on that. Like, I understand there's people who could be very nutritious and not do any resistance training or cardiovascular work. And like, my mom is a good example. My mom does yoga. My mom watches what she eats, but she doesn't really understand that. My mom weighs like about 100 pounds. I don't know. So she's very like skinny. She's at risk of osteoporosis. She's at risk of all these other things when she's older because she does no strength or conditioning. And she doesn't do like the power yoga. She does like hatha, you know? It's a lot of stretching, okay? So my point here is I think you guys are all healthier or better prepared than my mom is. My mom watches her nutrition, but you guys, you strength train, okay? After nutrition, I'm gonna put sleep, okay? Now, I could also take an argument that sleep is more important than nutrition, but again, I'm just gonna use myself as an example. I've never really been able to set my sleep schedule to anything, like I'm not, you know, like you guys see those things online. I wake up at 4:30, I eat 5 raw eggs, and then by the time I've read a sermon and I've, done a 8-mile hike, and then the sun comes up and I go home and I've never been that guy. I don't know if my body would be better on a circadian rhythm where I went to bed when it was dark and I got up when it was light. I like the nighttime. It's quiet for me. That's when my brain feels like it's like the most active. I can think of things. If you're a morning person, you're the opposite. But I can't switch it to the morning, go to bed at 9 p.m. type of person. I just can't. Maybe I'd be better, but I've accomplished a decent amount with this being my like third important thing, okay? After that, I would say we have skill. Now skill, this is what I referred to before. The gymnastics, the Olympic lifting, technique work. Typically, someone with a skill goal, I want to do a bar muscle up. There's technique there. I need to teach that person the technique, but an example of someone who would benefit from the technique is someone who already has the strength, and they already have the strength to body weight ratio. And a lot of times, if those things are off, it's harder for me to teach someone the skill. What I'm trying to say is if someone comes in and they're 20 pounds overweight, it doesn't really matter what type of skill work I give them. If they don't have the proper upper body muscle built and they don't have the proper body fat percentage, harder for me to get them to hoist themselves up over the bar. That's just physics. So for me to focus on this and ignore these two things would be short-sighted, lying, right? It's not how the science works. Again, the 30 to 40 member per class example of if I ran these technique things, like there are probably more people coming, but you're not getting the point then. So maybe I advertise for those classes and then we just flood the gym with people who are looking for skill stuff. And then I'll do another talk like this and then they'll go, oh, but they'll already be here, but you guys know the truth. I don't need to tell this to everybody. I'm not gonna put out some video and go, stop working on skills. You guys know now, you guys came to this talk. After that, supplementation, all right? Now, I'm a big two things can be true person, right? Like usually if there's a, let's use something simple, not related to this as an example. The saying, everyone is trying their best. You have to remember that when you go out in the world, someone cuts you off and they're driving, some clerk at Starbucks can't punch your order in even though you've been there 18 times. Everyone is doing their best. I do not know what's going on in someone else's day. Someone could be going through, God knows what, probably a harder life than what I'm going through. I forget this a lot of times. I'm out in public, I'm like, oh my God, that person sucks. I'll lean over to Stacy and be like, dude, you see what that guy's wearing? Like, judgy, shitty, not like the most like virtuous quality of mine. But then I try to remember everyone's trying their best. At the same time, a lot of people are not. And what I mean is, if someone knows that these things, these main 3 things, are more important to getting the body they want, remember the original 3 things I wrote down: performance, health, and aesthetics. No one else spoke up when I said, what's another reason you're here? So too late now. You guys all came here for one of those reasons, or you all joined the gym. Whether it was Angelo joining Kent CrossFit or Amy joining Sasquatch, the gym you guys went to before this. Something got you up off the couch and made you want to go to those gyms. So if you now know how important these things are in comparison to the supplementation, I'm going to explain why it's the top of the pyramid in a second. If you know that and you still try to bypass these things and get to one of those performance, health, or aesthetics goals through supplementation, ignoring these things, you're not trying your best. So 2 things can be true. Most people are trying their best. Some people are not. I do not have a lot of patience for people that don't try their best or take a shortcut on stuff. Now, I know you're probably thinking, is he saying that GLP-1 is a shortcut? We're not going to get into that. What I'm going to say, GLP-1 can be necessary for someone who's diabetic, right? But that is not what we see as the typical customer or client right now, or what would you call it? Customer, client's the wrong word. Patient, thank you. The typical GLP-1 patient right now is someone who just got tired of having that typical, like the extra 20, 30 pounds on, or they wanted to tighten up their tummy or whatever. So then what's being done is you're taking this supplement, right, in hopes of improving something that naturally would have been better off improved from one of these 3 dynamics here. So I don't, like the 2 things can be true thing. This can be good for someone who is on the verge of diabetes and cannot stop eating. Great. But for someone who's trying to close that food loop just to lose 20 pounds, it is simply not worth the risk. All right, that's my stance on it. Now, let's make this best case scenario. Let's say that you are someone who wants to take GLP-1. You just need to lose 15, 20 pounds. You just need to trim up. I don't know. Don't get hung up on the number. You want to improve some aspect of your aesthetics. Best case scenario. Let's say you track all your protein, right? That means every day you log into your MyFitnessPal or whatever your macro app is, the amount of protein that you're eating, so that you can keep your muscle. All right? Let's say you do that. Let's say you lose the weight, and let's say that it's all fat. Lose 15 to 20. Great. So this has helped you create a caloric deficit. You've tracked all your protein to make sure that you're holding on to as much muscle as possible. You've lost the weight that you were trying to lose. You're eventually going to plateau, okay? Just like everybody does in a caloric deficit, you will reach this point. Now what? Okay? Just to be clear, do we all know what this does? This is not a fat melting drug, right? This essentially shuts off the food noise. Okay, we don't need to get into all the science behind it, but that's what that does. Now, I told you best case scenario, right? So let's say that you do this, you're still gonna have to have some sort of plan once you get to that goal weight. You've lost your 15 to 20. What do? Do you take more GLP-1 to keep shutting off the food noise even more? Let's say that they told you to eat 1,500 calories a day, but track all your protein. So now they're gonna lower your dosage once you get to your goal weight so that you can work your way out of this deficit. you start going from 1,500, let's say to 1,700. This is best case scenario. And I mean truly best case, because how many people do you know that are going to do this and still do that? They would defeat the whole purpose of why they did this in the first place. They did this because they didn't want to do that, right? It was too much work for them to track the protein or to adhere to a certain amount of calories, okay? So that's best case. This is not looking at, you guys know that Ozempic is being sued now by over 1,500 people for causing blindness? Like, these are not FDA approved drugs yet, right? They're being pushed by doctors. Why is that, right? I've heard people speak on this. Professors and doctors are given grants to push certain pharmaceuticals. That is the way that the world works. Now, I'm not going to get into some tin hat theory on why they want everyone taking GLP-1, but all I'm saying is that this is not in everyone in this room. This is excluding people with obesity and people with diabetes. This is not in, and even them too, your best interest. This is Pharma 101. This is Sales 101. Find what people want. Losing weight, performance, health, aesthetics, and give it to them faster than the competitor. This is doing that, okay? Scary, right? But I don't think people understand the risk, okay? Because most people are not doing the tracking the protein deal. You've seen these cases of people losing bone density and muscle mass. GLP-1 does not care where you guys lose weight. It's just going to make you lose weight. It's not pulling directly from the muscle. If someone goes, man, like, I really want to get this last little bit of weight off, I kind of feel like I have some rolls when I sit down or whatever, the GLP-1 does not specifically spot target the rolls on your stomach and evaporate that fat, okay? It creates an overall caloric deficit. So that goes back to what eventually needs to happen is you need to adhere to calories in, calories out. That's simple thermodynamics, right? So I eat more than I burn, I gain weight. I eat less than I burn, I lose weight. People don't want to track because it's too hard, too challenging, right? Which is fine, but you know, this whole deal, it kind of ignores all the other stuff that we talked about. You're disrupting the process and the cycle, all right? In terms of hormone replacement therapy, my stance on hormone replacement therapy or things like that is it can be really beneficial, right? But if you naturally produce the hormone, then you shouldn't fuck with hormone replacement therapy. And this goes for peptides too, right? There are certain peptides, the BC571 and then the TB100 or whatever. They're very good for healing acute injuries, but every other peptide out there that's designed to increase performance or to decrease belly fat or whatever, they are not worth the risk. And again, they have not been FDA approved. So I'm not saying that you're a shitty person for doing those things. I'm just giving you guys the information and like notifying you of the risk there so you can hopefully make the decision for yourself, okay? I've seen firefighters extend their careers by 5 years on hormone replacement therapy. So if you're in the doctor and your hormones are so plummeted and you can't fix them with these things, then yeah, that would be, a hormone replacement therapy would be a better option for you than taking 5 different medications, right? Truly would. Same thing if you get hurt and you need a peptide, you can't fix it with these things. But again, people want an easy button. And usually there's a risk that comes with that. Now peptides, HRT, not technically in the same boat as GLP-1. Like if we're just talking from like a what I see with GLP-1 thing and less about the science behind it, I can just tell when someone's lost weight on the GLP-1. There's like a sunken look. It's Ozempic face. There's an actual term for it. Thank you. So it's like, and I just don't think it's what people are actually after, right? I think at some point all of us saw someone on a magazine or someone like, you know, when I lived with Nick, it's like he's got these pictures of Arnold in the garage. Like Stacia, Nick, I don't know if you've been in the garage, but this dude idolized Arnold from an early age. I'm not saying that's healthy, But I'm saying that he did not idolize or want to be like a guy who just lost a ton of weight, right? Not caring where it came from. Like, that's not really what this is about. You guys want tone, you want muscle, you want performance, you want health. I've told you how this is going to affect you from a health standpoint. Like, there are cases of gut paralysis where people's digestive tracts just aren't processing the food the same way they were before. That's not a mystery to me. This is slowing down everything, the food loop, right? The digestive process. So people are, I was talking to Stacey the other day about it. There's people who are vomiting on like hospital beds with this shit. Like, is that right?
Yeah, and the gut paralysis has not been reversible. So even when people come off of it, they still struggle to process food.
Yeah. Yeah. So you guys, for those of you that are still here and you've stayed through this whole diatribe, it's a great feeling. Yeah. See ya. All right. For those of you who are still here, this is where I wanted to not get super like meta and motivational speakery on this whole thing, but doing this, right? Best case scenario, you get through all these things, you still don't have the habits in place to maintain or sustain the level that you got to. Even if that's what you, like, again, best case, you took GLP-1 and you got shredded. I don't know anyone shredded on GLP-1. I'm talking diced, like boom, boom, boom. No, most people just lose weight. Like, oh my God, did you see Kim Kardashian? It's like a thing now. They're taking out their butt implants. They're taking, like, women don't want curve anymore. Okay, now that'll change just like it changed before. Just like there were low-cut jeans when I was in 7th grade. The whale tail, you guys know what I'm talking about? Chad knows what I'm talking about. It's coming back. And now we're doing or we were for a while, and as a guy, I'm like, what's going on here? But guys don't care. No guy was sitting at home going, you know what you could do, babe? You could hike, but grand scheme of things, and I wish I did have a bigger whiteboard so you could see all this stuff at once, but I think I touched on most things. Let's see. Oh, well, one more little anecdote to leave you guys with. Remember the two things that can be true at the same time? This is easy to understand, okay? Now, I didn't go into my experience today with all this, but like I told you guys, I've had a pretty simple experience. I eat more, I get bigger. I eat less, I get leaner. I do more conditioning, I get better at the conditioning. I do more hypertrophy stuff, my muscles blow up. I do more strength stuff, I'm stronger. I'm tired, I want to nap more. I want to eat more. I also want to eat more when I condition more. I'm also not as strong when I condition more. All these things have a cause and effect. Just like calories in, calories out. This is your ultimate ticket to losing weight if you guys want to do that. But that starts with tracking. And then after that, you would want to dial in your macros because the amount of protein, the amount of carb, the amount of fat you're eating, those all dictate how you guys look and how you feel. This is the ultimate for losing weight, if that's all that it really comes down to. This is the ultimate for losing weight and keeping track of maintaining your muscle, is calories in, calories out, making sure you hit a certain amount of protein every day. But if you want to look dialed, right? The people who've gotten the most results, performance, health, and aesthetics-wise at this gym, or throughout my entire life working out, have done that. Now, do you have to be like Mick and I, where you're hitting your numbers perfectly every day? No. Diane and Stacia are great examples of clients that I've had who don't hit their numbers necessarily perfect every day. They're 1 or 2 off here and there. But most people look at Diane and Stacia and go, they look great. What are they doing? Okay? It's not a coincidence, right? These things, I'm not saying that I'm the cause or this is the exact cause why they look the way they do. Again, there are genetic factors at play with all this stuff, right? But it is correlated. Not causation, correlation. So while this is very easy to understand, the flip side of the coin, it's not easy to do. It's not easy to change a part of your life and go from just whipping up a sandwich and eating it because you're hungry to putting the now again, this is easy for me. Like when I say this out loud, I'm like, how is this hard for people? But again, trauma, probably, I'm assuming. I like it. I like the control of that. I put the bread on the plate. I put the plate on the scale. I put the mayo on the scale. I zero it out. I put the turkey on the scale. I zero it out. Love it. Because you know why? Do you know why? Because for years, before that was a thing where I could decide what I could eat, I had to eat chicken, broccoli, and sweet potato every day, or cod. Every day for lunch, it was coconut water and protein powder and a banana. Every day. That's how diet plans were, you guys, in the 70s, and the 80s, and the 90s, and the thousands. And then somewhere around 2014, 15, 16, this concept that the numbers are what matter, your macros are what matter. It's not necessarily the type of food that you're eating, but it's how much of what macronutrient. That's what truly matters. That was so freeing to me. It was like, are you kidding me? I can have Oreos? What the hell? I mean, I can have Oreos and hit my goals. Like, that's the better statement there. But that was like unheard of. It blew my mind. And so that was like Pandora's box. It was like, I'm never looking back from this. This is actually like a fun thing for me. It's not like that for everybody, because you guys are going from not doing the diet plan, you're going from eating whatever you want, to now you're having to establish some type of cognitive discipline around it. That's hard. And what I'm saying is, you can do it if it matters enough to you. But it's not going to matter enough to some of you. Just like making $1 billion doesn't matter enough to me. I can make $1 billion, I think. I truly think I could, right? With the amount of effort I put into fantasy football and tracking my shit, I could create some sort of Ponzi scheme. I have the personality type to do that. I do not care enough about the money. And maybe that sounds self-centered, but it sounds self-centered to say that I have the personality to do that, but I'm dissing myself. I'm saying that I can get hyper-fixated on something to where if I want it bad enough, I can do it. Now, some of you guys are probably more well-rounded than I am. Family man, Stacia's a mom, financially literate. I'm just listing things, right? If you think of these buckets here, I got my health, I got my wealth, I got my family, right? My health bucket is up to there, okay? Put a lot of effort and energy into that. My wealth bucket, whatever. Like, I don't really care that much.
Where is it?
I don't care. But hey, here's the thing though. I can't spend money on stupid shit now like I used to. And I have to be more aware of this type of stuff, right? So I'm just being real with you guys. Like, I've just never been like super into stocks or super into like whatever. I do stuff because people tell me to do it. Like if Nick tells me to do something or advises me to buy this or that, like I've been better since I turned 30. I had to really like, I know, right? Fucked off in my 20s. Like it's just how it is. But you know what I did in my 20s? Put a ton of time and effort into that. Now, I'm not saying that you guys didn't, but a lot of you, in your 20s and 30s and whatever, you're like here, and now maybe this is down to maybe here. So you're trying to raise this up, right? Well, I'm not saying that you abandon these other two things so that you can raise this. I'm really not, but I'm saying that if you've created the discipline with these two things, and I mean having a family is discipline. There is discipline in being married. Like I'm not married, but I get it. I totally understand all these concepts. Everyone who's married goes, it's work. Well, yeah, you know, you should never hate him, but you should feel like you want to kill him at some point. Like, what? That's most people I talk to that are married say that about each other. Anyways, I'm saying there's an effort and there's a discipline that goes into that. You have to be selfless. It's a partnership, right? Same thing with wealth. Okay? I get $200. I want to spend it on shoes. Some people get $200. They put 120 of it in the bank. They give themselves $80 for the rest of the day to go spend. That's a discipline. For me, I spend all my discipline on this. Okay, now I have a good family too. Like, I'm not saying my life is terrible or I'm poor or whatever, but like, you get my point. My hyperfixation goes into this because I want it the most. For some reason, this matters to me more than that. This is the wealth one, right? Now, do I look at things and I go, that would be sweet. God, I'd love a private jet. Man, I'd love to go to the Maldives. I'd love, like, all this shit, like whatever. But at the end of the day, I don't care enough. Okay, and if I did, I would do it. I care more about this. And what I'm saying is, I think most people are flipped, right? Most of the population sees someone with abs, or they see a gal with nice legs, or they see whatever, and they go, yeah, hell yeah, I want that. Or they see someone back squat 500 pounds, I want that. You get my point. They don't actually really want it like they want the air that they're gonna breathe. I want this like the air I breathe. Every day I wake up, no matter how shitty my day is, I can always fall back on the fact that I have put so much discipline and effort into this. I'm not saying it makes me feel better than people, but it makes me feel great about myself, right? So if you guys don't have that, that's okay. Still try to follow this stuff to the best of your ability, but don't think I'm gonna think you're a worthless POS because you're not doing all these things to this degree. I'm just saying you all have the potential and the capability to do that. You've done it with other things, okay? Last thing, thanks for coming. No dumb questions. Hopefully, if I brushed over anything, you guys feel comfortable enough to ask me about it. Yeah. This is kind of a one-size-fits-all talk, right? I could have gone into, believe it or not, more detail on a lot of these things, but that's another time, another place. Any questions on that stuff? No? Cool, thanks. Yeah, question?
So how does this relate to the stack competition?
Oh, hey, thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so when I wrote out all those different energy systems, right? Absolute strength, relative strength, anaerobic capacity, anaerobic threshold, all those things. That's what Mick and I are writing this competition to test, is all those aspects minus skill barriers. So if we look at, promise this will be short. If we look at CrossFit and this will just be a straight line. So here's CrossFit. Here's High Rocks. CrossFit, let's just keep it simple. Skill barrier. Now, what I didn't go into today, you guys, is how I love CrossFit. Like, CrossFit changed my life. CrossFit, to me, is more than just the CrossFit Games. CrossFit was a thing that, in a way, like, kind of saved my life from just being a complete jack-off and drinking and partying all the time. I love it. I owe it so much. I love group fitness. I think that it's amazing what people can do when they're around each other and they have similar goals and a like-minded aspect, right? When I say things like skill barrier or too skilled, I'm just being real about where the games have gone and how there's not necessarily true tests of fitness without skills involved. High Rocks, right? That tests one of those energy systems that I wrote up there, the aerobic capacity or the oxidative. This is, for most people, a 60-plus minute race, right? So what we want to do is there is a middle ground here where we can test all the things, the strength, the power, the speed, the aerobic, the anaerobic, that's really what's being tested there, is the aerobic. So there's no competition that directly tests all these things. Maybe there's others that are coming out right now. There's like a ATHX or AHX, like Adidas came out with a competition. CrossFit is doing this thing called Xenom, right? Where that's like a decathlon, but the way that they marketed that was You know what I saw at High Rocks was I was watching all these super fit people do the sled pushes and the runs, and I thought, I wonder what that guy could snatch. I've literally never thought that. Do you get my point? They almost had it. God damn it, they almost had it. Why did they go with snatch though? I've never done that. I walk around, I go, I wonder what that guy can dead. I wonder what that guy can squat. I bet that guy has got a big bench press. Not snatch or clean. Why not? Because how could I ever see what they're capable of doing from a snatch or clean standpoint if they don't have the technique? There's no point in me asking that. Now, when someone says that guy snatches 396, all of you guys went, oh my God. So it is impressive. I'm not saying it's not. They are some truly awesome athletes, but it's not a true test of that, okay? So I want to create something that tests all these things. The open, there's a lot of you that are so much fitter than you think, but you maybe get in your heads because you can't quite grasp the concept of a kipping pull-up. You can't quite move a power clean in the most efficient way, right? Now, I say this, we're also doing a gymnastics seminar next week, so I'm gonna tackle those things, but you guys need to understand the more important aspects of it. So how that all relates to the stat competition, strength and conditioning combine. It's truly the test of strength and conditioning and all those energy systems that I wrote up there. We're gonna test the aerobic capacity, so you guys gotta be ready for something long. We're gonna test the absolute strength. You gotta be ready for something heavy. We're gonna test those middle zones. You gotta be ready for something 4 to 8. You gotta be ready for something 8 to 12. You gotta be ready for a bunch of movements that people can't hide behind, like I did with the ring muscle up in week 2. Oh my God, that was so amazing. Why? Because I learned something that you didn't learn 12 years ago? Not a big deal. Now, if it was strict pull-ups and I busted out 20 of those and everyone else was busting out 7 or 8, that's a true test of my relative strength. That's not. That's a cool party trick. I always have it in my back pocket. I learned it once, it's like riding a bike. Well, it is. The hardest bike ever, yes, but what's that? Now you're getting it. Now you're getting it. No, honestly, you guys, last open, do you know what I weighed this open? 184 pounds. Do you know what I weighed last open? 204 pounds. Now, I don't need an applause. I do this a lot. No. Because that's missing the point. You guys should applaud me for gaining the weight and then losing the weight. Do you know why I weighed 204 pounds going into the last year's open? We did a strength cycle before that. And I had to make a choice when we started that strength cycle in October of that year. Did I want to get the most out of that? Or did I want to stay in a deficit? And did I want to look at my stomach every morning and go, aces? The answer was, I'm going to get a cramp, shit. The answer, I don't actually do that. Or there's a character in a show, it's an inside joke. All right. Did I care about my aesthetics too much to the point where I did not want to gain weight during that strength cycle? And the answer was, in that strength cycle, no. I wanted to put my time and effort towards getting my squat to this weight, seeing if I could deadlift X amount again. And I wanted to do it at a body weight I'd never done it at before. That strength cycle ended January 1st. The open is at the end of February. I was not able to lose all my weight by the time the open came around. So when we had to do bar muscle up, I'm huffing my, for me, heavy body up there. It's harder. You know what was easier? The thrusters, right? Me moving weight off my body was much easier. My absolute strength went up when I put on muscle and I put on size. My relative strength went down. So when Stacia's saying, yeah, it's a skill like riding a bike as long as you stay at the same body weight, I'm like, now you're getting it, right? I don't lose the technique. My ability to do the movement ebbs and flows based off of the size of my body. And I like times where I'm bigger. I like times where I'm leaner. I typically like being leaner. Leaner, it's all in relation to where you guys are at. Lean for me might be not lean for someone else. Someone else might see me with my shirt off and go, dude, you're a CrossFit coach? Someone else might be like, oh my God, what a specimen. Like, it's all relative to where you guys are at. So I'm saying for me, I used to say this. I used to say, hey, get used to being unhappy with your body 7 out of 10 months of the year. Because that was my experience. It truly was. Even when I was at my leanest, I would still have mornings where I would wake up and be bloated. And I would be like, wait, what? Some of you are still going through that. I work with clients who are very lean, who think that they're not sometimes. And I have to be like, do you realize that your belly button is like stretching? Like that's how lean you are. There's dysmorphia there. But what's awesome, you guys, is now I don't really have that. Over the years, my body weight has gone up, my body weight has gone down, my body weight has gone up, my body weight has gone down, my body weight has gone up, my body weight has gone down. What I needed to weigh to be shredded before is now heavier. I'm holding more muscle. I look the same as I did when I was 8 pounds lighter, but I'm bigger. I'm more powerful. I'm stronger at 188 than I ever was before. So now I have different goals. I have different views in terms of what I can lift. When I was at 220, I could deadlift whatever, right? Someone just throw out a number. 500. When I was at 220, I could deadlift 500. But when I had to drop to 183, I couldn't. Now I'm at 188 and I can. I can also look at my stomach and be like, yeah, nice. That's a sweet spot. I used to think it was cool, you guys, that I was able to deadlift X amount in a year and then also go on vacation. And I referred to it as the everyone wants a 600-pound dead, everyone wants a six-pack. Not everyone can have them at the same time. Those people that can have them at the same time are either on drugs or they have done this for long enough to where they are holding enough muscle at a lean at a lean body weight. They're holding muscle at a lean body weight to where they have a good amount of absolute strength. But that takes years and years of doing this. In my case, decades. And now I'm finally at a point where I'm like, every morning I wake up, I'm like, yeah, no, great, awesome. I feel more capable, stronger, leaner, better than I've ever been. Now, do I come in here and I act like I can't even demo certain movements in front of you guys? Yeah, it's not acting. Like, I'm really stiff. I should probably stretch more. But ultimately, I'm better now than I've ever been. I know that you guys can be the same way, or you can accomplish the same thing if you just follow this program, right? Or you adhere to these concepts, I guess is a better way to put it. So anyways, does that explain the stack thing at all? Sorry. We'll put out more information on that. If anyone is on, questioning whether or not they should do it, I think you guys should all do it.
Is it this full hour, like, I thought 8 a.m. to 4 p.m.? Is it a full day?
Yeah.
Or do you do like a chunk of it?
You gotta go the whole day. Yeah. There'd be multiple events, so it would be like a 6-7 event thing. And if you're like, oh my God, I can't do that, you could. We did it before. We did it 2, 3, or 4 years ago, in-house competition that we did. Anyways, yeah. But yeah.
Are you gonna put this online?
This video? Yeah. Unfortunately, yes. Maybe some editing, but yeah, no, there's a lot of people that couldn't make it who need to hear this stuff, and so they are gonna see it. Yeah. Cool. Okay, thanks guys. Really appreciate it. Thanks for staying. And like I said, let me know. You can always email me, text me if you have questions, whatever. Cool? Thanks. Have a good weekend. Yo. That hit a while ago. Yeah.